name is Jason Leahy, Executive Director of the Illinois Principals Association. Thanks for joining me for this IPA talk. Grateful to have with me here Allan Davenport, who is our 2024 Middle School Principal of the Year for the state of Illinois. Allan, you're the principal there at Francis Granger Middle School, which is in Aurora, Illinois, and just grateful for you spending a little bit of time with me talking about school leadership and your school and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. I'm honored to be a part of this. So really looking forward to the opportunity.
You bet. Well, obviously, congratulations, Allan, and of course, you're doing some outstanding work. We'll definitely get into all of that and maybe some things that are happening as a middle school leader, which, God bless middle school leaders. I think middle school leaders store up special treasures in heaven just because that, I've got some of those kids in my house right now at home. So I know it's quite a interesting period of time in young people's lives as they're trying to learn how not to be kids and start transitioning to adults and hormones and all that stuff. So we can talk about that in a little bit. But just curious a little bit more about your story and what about your journey to school leadership and what got you to where you are right now.
Yeah, well, I attended Eastern Illinois University for my undergrad, and growing up in the Chicagoland area, it was always just my plan to come back up here and get a job. At that point in time, it just there weren't enough jobs, and I ended up taking a position down in Southern Illinois in a small town called Olney.
Olney is, you bet.
Yeah, home of the White Squirrels is Olney.
Right.
So. Yeah. I had never heard of it until the call, but I went down there thinking that I would stay for a year and ended up staying for 7 and really did the bulk of my teaching career down there. But during that time, I continued on with Eastern and got my master's in educational administration, and just really as a teacher felt a calling to be able to make a bigger impact. As a teacher, you can impact the kids in your class, and that's for the most part. So just looking at opportunities to just grow my influence and then be able to impact more kids. And so, an opportunity came in District 204 back in 2004. And I started as an assistant principal up here at Hill Middle School. And like I said, I was there for 6 years at Hill, 3 of those as the AP and then 3 as the principal. And then the district asked if I'd be willing to move to another school. And so happy to take on the new challenge. It was a little closer drive to home, so I thought, why not? And then I was at Crone Middle School for 5 years as principal. And then at that point in time, a lot of the one-to-one initiatives were happening across districts. And so District 204 was choosing to go one-to-one with Chromebooks. And so our superintendent had asked if I'd be willing to come up to the district office to kind of lead that charge. And at first I told her no, actually about 6 times, and then finally was not coerced but really encouraged to take it on.
Maybe.
But in a great way. I was hesitant to leave the principalship. I love being at a school, but so glad that I did it. It was a great opportunity to just really learn all levels of the job. I worked with elementaries, middles, high schools, and just really learned how to take a huge shift in practice from point A to point B. And it was, I learned a ton. And then, after that whole process, which was about 4 years, kind of ran its course, there was an opportunity back at a middle school. And so I just kind of jumped on it. I just missed that energy that you get in a school. And so since that time, I've been at Granger now. This is my 5th year as principal at Granger, and loving every minute of it.
Yeah, that's terrific. Well, Al, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned kind of the call to leadership there, and just sensing that. So I'm just kind of curious, when you reflect back on your career and maybe, that moment or moments in time, was it any one thing that might have occurred then, or just a series of events or people that you were engaged with that you just felt like, this is maybe the direction I need to be moving?
Yeah, no, I mean, I when I was teaching, I had the opportunity to be a team leader. And so really working with some great teachers to just really do some creative, innovative things at our school. And then again, just looking at how could more kids get these experiences? I'm not one that can just sit still. Sometimes I create
Mhm.
far more work for myself than necessary. But I just think that helps keep me going. And so I'm always trying to bring new ideas and just new innovations to teaching and education. And so, like I said, I knew a way to really do that would be to be a building leader, knowing that being an instructional leader is one of the main calls of that. And so I just really felt that, I still view myself as a teacher. And so I always just approach the job as how can we make teaching more fun? How can we teach it more, make it more innovative and just ultimately beneficial for both staff and students? And so that really was my charge to become a principal.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's great. Well, let's fast forward now to your life there at your current position at Granger in Aurora. You said that you'd been there. This is your fifth year in that position. What's a day in a life look like for you there with your school? Just give us a picture that we can kind of paint in our mind's eye about your school and the good things that you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Granger is one of seven middle schools in District 204. We're the
Mhm.
largest, so we are sitting at about 1,050 kids,
Yeah.
sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. But like most principals, every day is different.
Mhm.
Um, but the kids here are awesome, and that's one of the things that I just love about it is I probably fist bump 500 kids a day, and just talk to kids just about life, and it's there's obviously the teacher and instructional part of things where I spend time, but really the bulk of my day is just spent interacting with kids in a variety of different ways. And that's one of the things I've really tried to do is to keep that teacher lens. And so I love teaching. I mean, I love being a principal, but I love teaching and I miss it. And so I really try to take opportunities to co-teach with teachers and
Mhm.
so, I do that, over the course of the year, many different opportunities. Most recently, actually been working with novel engineering. So kind of incorporating the design process into our ELA classes. And so being able to co-teach with teachers in that and just do some of those things is really a passion of mine. And so, every day, I take care of the email stuff and all the other principal stuff, but really it's spent really just trying to connect with kids. The job is, I think, getting harder every year, but I think you can't lose that connection that you have with kids. And so we spend a lot of time just being proactive and just building relationships and just trying to head problems off before they become problems. And so that's really the bulk of it is really just being out talking with people.
Yeah. So with the co-teaching experience, Al, what do you think that does for you in terms of the way that you can engage with your staff?
Yeah, well, for one, I feel like I can't ask my staff to do something I'm not willing to do.
Mm,
And
yeah.
so I try to really just model like taking educational risks in the classroom, trying new things. But in doing that, I'm there to support. And so, novel engineering is just one idea that we've been, trying to implement over the last few years. And, it also helps me to continue to feel what it's like to be a teacher.
Yeah.
What's classroom management like these days? What's, just managing 30 kids with, all the different needs a classroom brings. And so it really allows me to kind of still get that teacher perspective. It also fills a need for me of just interacting with kids and being in a classroom and doing those types of things. And because, like I said, teaching is the fun part of the job for me.
Yeah.
And so, we've done, and 2 years ago, we did a big archaeological dig where I wrote a grant we bought a bunch of baby pools actually, and I got a bunch of like fake Egyptian artifacts, and
Yeah.
we buried them in the pools, and we spent a week on a big archaeological dig with our sixth grade teachers and kids. And so being able to be a part of that and lead that with the teachers was really rewarding. And I mean, that goes all the way back to my teaching days in Olney when I did the archaeological dig then. And so just being able to still do some of those things that just made me love teaching to begin with has been just good for me, good for the teachers, and good for the kids.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Can you talk a little bit, Al, just, with regards to what you're seeing as, current kind of status of school leadership and kind of what's going on in your school? What are some things that either could be very much specific to Granger or just when you think about, what's going on in education more broadly is, what are some real positive things that you've got going on? You've obviously expressed a few of those, but just expand on that. And, what are some things that you see as challenges for you that you're really, having to work through and is even challenging you as a leader?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think a challenge and also a strength, I think, is the just the SEL needs that kids are coming with.
Mm-hmm.
It's really forced, I think, principals and school leaders to just think differently about how we do school.
Yeah.
How we are proactive with needs, but out of that need always comes, I think, innovation. And so just really that's forced us to do some special programming here at Granger. One of the things we're in year 2 of is what we call our Granger Academy, which was really for me looking at kids that just need more, whether that's more love, more academic help, more SEL support. They just needed more and they needed a home base. So kind of the Granger Academy like creates a school within a school, where this group of kids can really just be wrapped around. And so, that's something that I probably wouldn't have thought of had I if I didn't have all these SEL needs. And out of that also, we've really kind of started a robust mentoring program, taking some of our kids that are in our Granger Academy to an elementary school, which is across the street, and really connecting with some of those kids that kind of need that same wraparound. And for me, that's just double beneficial because those kids are going to be coming to Granger in a few years. So the more I can connect with them early, the better off it's going to be. And so, like I said, I think SEL across the board is probably the biggest need and challenge. But through that, also, I think is a great opportunity to think differently and be creative. And, that's one thing that I really try to do every year is just what can we do different? What can we do better? And really try to model that for the staff. It's okay to, I mean, when I started the Granger Academy, I thought this could be really great or it could be terrible. I don't
Yeah.
really know, but we got to try. And that's one of the things I really try to foster with my staff is take those risks. I'm not gonna be disappointed in you if you try something and it doesn't work. That's what we want to need to model for our kids. That's what I try to model for the staff.
So, circling back here, just more specifically to the academy, I'm curious because I'm sure others would be interested too. Is how do you decide what kids are part of that? Is there a process that you work through for that,
Yeah.
or do they self-select? Also, what teachers do you have engaged, and how did you work through who was going to be a part of that too?
Yeah, I was blessed with, the opportunity to get, 2 teachers to kind of take the lead with the academy. And so I looked at teachers that had special education training, and then teachers that I just knew can connect with kids in a different way. And like I said, that the academy is kind of, 2-tiered. There's the kid focus, but then there's also the parent focus. So we really were purposeful about connecting with our parents, and making them kind of a part of the academy too, if you will. We looked at all the academic data that traditionally looked at behavior, attendance data, just all of those kind of markers of where it shows where kids could need extra support. And so we purposely tried to keep it small, but we also looked at, just because we have a school schedule, just because they're separated into grades, doesn't mean we have to do it that way. And so we looked at, I don't care what grade you're in, this is an opportunity to help these kids wherever they need help. And so we kind of threw sixth, seventh, eighth grade out a little bit and just looked at need. And again, it is still sometimes grade specific and based upon what we're working on. Sometimes it could be sixth and seventh and eighth graders and they're together. Um, but really just looked at how can we wrap around with everything that they need. And so the kids start their day in the academy and end their day in the academy. And when we looked at attendance for sure, trying to get kids, sometimes that first period's hard. And so some of the students in the academy weren't kids that like to come to first period every day. And so really making first period a place where they felt home, is really in everyone in the academy, their attendance has improved by, 90% plus. For example, one kid we had that missed over 74 days the year before,
Wow.
has missed, I think, 3 days this year. So just a lot of successes. We had some students that had some significant SEL needs that, resulted in hospitalizations this year. zero hospitalizations. So it's really just been a way to just get the kids started with us in the morning, that home base, kind of prepare them for their day. We have the therapy dogs that come in, work with the kids frequently, and then just at the end of the day, it's kind of a check back in, kind of decompress from the day. And then again, throughout the day, the kids know they have access to the academy teachers and different things, and as well as trying to find opportunities for these kids that they wouldn't normally get. So we did a hayride with the kids, and I think we took 21 kids on the hayride. 19 of them have never been on a hayride.
Oh my gosh.
And I think 10 of them had never made s'mores. So just,
Yeah.
getting some fun ways to connect with kids outside of the school. And we do that as an academy because the goal is to really just build this tight knit community that, we're not always going to agree. We're going to disappoint one another, but we're there for each other regardless of that. And so it's really been a great journey, and just I hope that we can continue to do it with staffing and all of those types of things. But it's really been a great thing to see those kids just come in and just have their people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm grateful for you being willing to dive in a little deep on that. I'm sure others that are watching this, we may get a few phone calls because of
Sure,
that. Just
absolutely.
people that'd be interested in that good work that you're doing. I just know, just quickly speaking of my own experience in travel and seeing other school leaders even across the country, they are looking for
Yeah,
tools and resources and ideas about how to
yeah,
address some of these deep SEL needs that we've got. So kudos
yeah.
for that good
Thank you.
work. Pivoting here just a little bit, what I'm kind of curious about, I always like to hear from our principals of the year, just with what regards or what thoughts you've got with regards to effective leadership and what's you found has helped you be successful and maybe in some others and in doing my preparation for this time together, Al, a couple of things that I read up about you that others had to say was just innovation. We've heard about that. You talk about one-to-one computing, and then of course the Granger Academy. Those are very innovative things to be doing over the years. But for you also being student centered is another thing that they've called out as being very important to you, and you've kind of alluded to that here, I think, in the things that you shared. So I'm just curious if you wouldn't mind expanding on either one of those things or just anything else that
Yeah,
comes to mind that you think's just really been critical to your own success.
yeah. Well, I think, like I said, I mean, ultimately we're here for the kids, and so I really try to make that a priority. I mean, in a school of almost 1,100 kids, it's hard to learn names, but I try my best to make that a priority. And so I know a lot of the names of our students here, and just walking through the halls and fist bumping them, calling them by name, just being present. Just
Yeah.
walking up to them when they're all in a group whispering and be like, "Hey, what's up? Give me the tea. Let me know." They like that interaction and that banter. And so again, they see me in classrooms a lot. So it is not uncommon for Mr. Davenport to be in the classroom. It's not uncommon for me to be out directing traffic by the buses, whatever. And so just they know that just that presence, and then the way I can interact with them. I mean, I'm a baseball card collector, and I know a few kids here that collect baseball cards. And so every day we kind of share pictures on our phones of the newest cards we have. And probably the thing kids will remember the most about me is even though I'm 50 years old, I can still break dance. And
Yeah.
so at each of our dances every year, I do a big break dance battle. And probably more than anything else I've done as an educator, that is the one thing that once I do that, the kids they buy in.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
as long as I can still do it, I try. I'm not as good as I used to be, but I still give it a go. And I think
Yeah. You're
just
probably
again,
taking a little more ibuprofen these
yeah,
days before and after that, right?
absolutely.
Or that Voltaren,
100%.
that arthritic type cream,
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
yeah, absolutely. But and again, I think the kids know, like, and again, I do that because it's fun, but I also let the
Sure.
kids know it's okay to be silly and put yourself out there and it breaks down barriers. It creates, I
Yeah.
think, more of a like, oh my gosh, this guy breaks dance. We can talk to him. And so again, just really try to be, fun with the kids and I think and authentic. I mean, I think they know if you mean it or you don't. And I think the kids here, sometimes I have to hold them accountable for things. And those are kids I have good relationships with, and it's not easy, but they also know that I'm fair and that I listen. and that I do hold them accountable. And sometimes that's hard and disappointing. But I think the true measure is if you can hold a kid accountable for whatever behavior it is they did, and they still kind of come back and fist bump you the next day, then that's
Yeah.
a success. And so
Yeah.
I think just really being present with the kids. And like I said, they see me teaching in classrooms. So it's not just this guy that sits back in an office that, does all this weird stuff. He's like out and about. And so again, I think that I do the morning announcements every day. And I just try to make them fun, and they hear me on the announcements, and kids are asking me to do the announcements with them. And so again, it's just a way to just connect.
Yeah. No, I appreciate all of that. Well, you talked a little earlier, you just made the statement about, the position of being an educator. It's gets a little more challenging every year, just dealing with new stuff. I know we are past the pandemic at this point, but we're still dealing with some of the repercussions of that and new expectations that people have, it seems like, annually for our
Yeah.
schools. But
Yep.
you've been in some different positions over your career, but when you've been in a position, you tend to be there a bit. To be in your fifth year at Granger really puts you on the longer end of what the national stats would
Yeah.
show for somebody to be in a position. So I'm kind of curious about what helps you be sustained in your role, and you've been a principal over the course of your career quite a while. So, what
Yeah.
helps you just keep getting out of bed every morning and doing what you do?
Well, obviously, I think the principal answer is the kids, right? Like I
Yeah,
love coming to work and seeing them, make progress and do good things. But I think for me, just for my own kind of just personal drive, is I rely heavily on my faith, and have
mhm,
really kind of approached this job as like this is my mission field. Like this
yeah,
is where I'm supposed to be. This is where I've been gifted. I have the impact to help kids and help adults. And so again, just approaching the job more of how can I serve people versus just being a principal. And when I approach the job that way, it changes my mindset and everything. Whether it's a frustrated parent that's in here that I'm working with, instead of just viewing them as a frustrated parent, I try to view it as how can I serve this person? How can I help them? And I think just changing that mindset, which I didn't always have,
right,
changing that mindset has really helped me get through the tough times. And there have been tough times. Probably for every principal, you get that 1 year where you're like, what am I doing?
right,
For me, that was last year, and I really was questioning like, am I making a difference? Am I helping, or what am I doing here? And just really refocusing that mindset of I'm here to serve. I was put here for a purpose, and I need to just do that and focus on how to help people. And that's really changed just how I do it and how I feel about it at the end of the day too. And that's what really keeps me going and motivated and driven.
yeah. Well, I'm grateful for that perspective and your transparency there with that. That's outstanding. Well, as we wrap up here, Al, I just want to offer up congratulations to you again for this outstanding recognition. That's absolutely well deserved. Appreciate you and your leadership up there in Aurora at
Thank
Granger
you.
Middle School. It's good work, and thanks for spending a little time with me too. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Well, again, I'm Jason Leahy, Executive Director of the Illinois Principals Association with Allan Davenport, who is principal at Granger Middle School in Aurora, and also the 2024 Middle School Principal of the Year for the state of Illinois. As always, if there's anything that IPA can do for you, don't hesitate to give us a call or check us out on the web at ilprincipals.org. Take care.